Thank you for joining us this afternoon for the August 7th, 2024 Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission regular meeting. Before the meeting is called to order, I would like to point out a few house rules to assist the commission, staff, and members of the public to successfully participate in this meeting. For today's meeting, Zoom is being used to allow public participation with the Site and Architectural Commission regular meeting. For those using Zoom to participate, there are two icons, chat and raise hand. Please use chat only to report technical issues such as being unable to hear a commission member speaking. Please use raise hand to be recognized by the chair and unable to speak to the commission. Only attendees using the Zoom application can use the raise hand option to comment. Participants calling in from a telephone will only be able to listen and cannot provide feedback or public comment. And lastly, when we're not all in the same room, all votes in the meeting must be taken by roll call.
Thank you. And with that, I'll call to order the August 7th, 2024 meeting of the Monte Sereno Site and Architectural Commission. And Ms. Perkins, please proceed with the roll call.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Conley?
Here.
And Commissioner Evans, did send an email that he would be absent today. Commissioner Srivastava?
Present.
Commissioner Tam is absent, and Chair Zeidler.
Present. Okay, the commission.
Oh, there she is.
Hello, Commissioner. Come on in. We were just doing a roll call for attendance, so you came at the perfect time. So Commissioner Tam is present also. Okay, and then with that, we'll move on to oral communications. First, we have a quorum present, and so oral communications is a chance for members of the public to speak on anything not on the agenda. So if there's anything not on the agenda you'd like to speak to, please either approach the podium or raise your virtual hand. You'll be allotted 3 minutes to speak. Is there anyone that has a comment not on the agenda? In chambers, no, and how about online? No hands are raised. Okay, with that, we will close oral communications. Written communications, did we receive any written communications in advance of the meeting of anything not on the agenda, Ms. Burton?
Not of anything not on the agenda.
Okay. And with that, close written communications and move on to the agenda and reviewing the minutes from the July 10th, 2024 meeting. Did the commissioners have any comments or questions on those? And members of the public, any comments or questions on the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll move the acceptance of the minutes of the last meeting.
Okay, we'll close public comment and we have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Do we have a second? Okay, may we have a vote, please?
Yes, Commissioner Conley?
Yes.
Commissioner Srivastava?
Yes.
Commissioner Tam?
Yes.
Chair Zeidler.
Yes. Wonderful. Motion carries, and with that, we'll move on to the public hearing portion. Ms. Perkins, would you like to introduce the first item, please?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for a site development permit for a 6-foot high fence and vehicular gate in the front yard of 18154 Bancroft Avenue. The subject property is located over 275 feet from Bancroft Avenue and is accessed through a shared driveway. Due to the distance from the street, the proposed fence is not visible from the public way. And staff recommends approval of the site development permit in accordance with the draft memorandum of decision that was attached to the staff report. And that concludes the report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Perkins? Okay, and then we'll move to public comment. Would anyone from the public like to speak to this item? Any hands online?
No hands are raised.
Okay. So the applicant's not here or anything.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you have the option to speak if you like. You don't have to. It's certainly.
Sure, there are architects on for any questions too.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I have anything to say about
Yeah.
it, actually, thank you.
There is not quite as much content as building a whole home, so that's
Correct.
understandable. Okay. Well, we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion then. Would anyone like to lead?
I think that it's nice that they applied for an approval. It's so far away that they could have probably snuck it in without anybody coming over from the 30 years. It's fine with me. I think it's But I drove up as far as I could and it doesn't affect anybody anywhere except the guy trying to build the gate.
All right.
I'm good with it.
It doesn't seem like it's going to be visible to much anyone, and I think it's set back far enough that it's not a big impact.
Okay, I drove up there, and thank you, I drove up there, and at first I thought, it's very difficult to turn around if there's a gate, because I actually turned around on that property, but I actually talked to Ms. Perkins earlier, and she was identifying other places that people could turn around, and told me that usually, I guess, FedEx drivers and such drop things at the on the public street rather than going up the lane, is that right?
It depends on the size of the package, but yeah, the idea would be that if we were aware of the package coming, that we would leave the gate open for them. But our neighbor is also building a driveway for her ADU, and that's also another potential turnaround spot before they reach the gate on our property.
That's good, good. Another thing, I don't know if it took me looking at a second time, but the design of the gate is fairly closed. Is it possible to pull up would it be hard, Boise, to pull up the gate design? So usually we don't have fences in the front yard, it's unusual to have a 6-foot fence in the front yard. And technically, I understand that the public street is quite a ways from where the fence will be. Functionally, when you drive up the little lane, it's, you see it on a road, even if it's not the public road. So the
Page 5 on the PDF.
the look matters somewhat, and I think why we tend to have more open gates are for safety, so that people can see through them and see if a car is getting ready to pull out and that kind of thing. So while the steel is consistent with other fences we see and such, I wondered about perhaps making it a little more open for a little greater visibility, because part of it also why we don't have 6-foot fences usually, because it can feel like a compound, like really a
Sure.
solid block, blocking visibility into the property.
And so I think part of the reason, so there are 1-inch gaps between all of the slats, which is, maybe a little smaller than some of the other houses we see, but for us, you kind of come over the hill and you're cresting at like a higher point. And so like one of our neighbors actually suggested, can you build an 8-foot fence? Because I think that would actually be proportionally right for you all to have privacy. When you're coming over the hill, you do see, and even when you approach the gate, you would be seeing directly into our backyard. And so I think that's also why we wanted to, it's more for privacy, I think, on that side rather than security. So that was kind of our thought behind it, is that anyone kind of approaching the gate like has a really clear view into, our back area, which we were hoping to prevent.
So I saw that when I drove up, I saw the garage,
Mhm.
and then is the area you use in your backyard kind of to the left of the garage?
That's right, like the covered patio.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in that drawing, it's hard to tell from the drawing, but
Yeah.
it's 80% opaque, or what percentage opaque? Or maybe the architect could speak to
Yeah,
it.
so
Should we have the architect speak to it perhaps? It just overall gives the impression of a fairly solid fence.
Okay.
Would you like for the architect maybe to
Sure.
get into the detail on that a little bit?
Gone ahead and allowed them to speak. Go ahead.
Hello. So I'm Sufyan. I'm part of the architecture team taking care of this project. We reviewed the municipal code and there was no clear as to how much percentage we need transparency here. So thus we thought about that inch gap exactly for the reason you're mentioning, to provide a certain visibility of movement while at the same time keeping that item of privacy. So ideally, I think the Swartley family will, have a little bit of a mini basketball court by the garage where the kids can play, and we would like, to create a little bit of that feeling of privacy for them. That's the goal number one of those distances between the lattices of the gate. Other than that, obviously we wanted this for more safety and security. You mentioned turnaround. We are in the process of getting this approved by the fire department as well. So we will have to provide some sort of access to the fire department because we have a fire turnaround there. And yeah, I think this will summarize your concern.
So is it possible to take basically the same design, but create more visibility, change the ratio of the bars to the open space?
I believe we will, there's definitely a solution. The more or the less distance we have, the more structurally stand we can make this gate, because you see it's stretching quite some distance here. But can you be a little bit more precise on like what distance or like how much transparency you are looking for in this situation?
Well, one, you could reverse the ratio of the bars to the open space, for example.
I think that's probably something we wouldn't be interested in. There's a house at the end of Bancroft that has about equal spacing even, and you can see really well through into, everything going on, in their yard, in the house. And I think our goal is really to have more privacy than that. And granted, the house that I'm referencing, they're a corner lot on Ridgecrest and Bancroft. So maybe different circumstances, but.
Yeah, we allow taller fences on corner lots, but usually we don't have 6-foot fences in yards.
Yeah. Sorry, I meant the spacing
Right,
between the slots.
right,
And I just want to ask, like, what would be the reason, since obviously we are, I believe, close to 300 feet away from the street, so the visibility, like, it's definitely not impacting anybody but the neighbors and the property owner in this situation. So why do you think we should like provide that much transparency in the gate? While the main purpose is to create some kind of privacy here.
Thank you for your comments. Functionally, when you drive up, that's the front yard and that's the street you're on. Just like any other street in Monte Sereno, and people in Monte Sereno don't have 6-foot fences in their front yard. That's really an exception. And we do, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Perkins, have discretion over the style of the fences that we allow to be built in the community. That's part of the role of the commission, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so it's within our purview. Do any of you have any more thoughts on that particular aspect?
No,
Not specifically this aspect, but another comment that was made by the architect was that this is still pending fire department approval. Should this application may come back once that approval?
What do you think, Ms. Perkins, about that?
So generally the process is that an application that requires a site development permit approval by the commission would submit to the planning department first, and then submit to the building department for the building permit. And with that review, the plans are routed to the fire department. So that does happen after.
So that fire doesn't have to review it twice.
I think you mentioned earlier, could another option be making maybe these slats a little bit more opaque so that there's a little bit more open? Yeah, is that something that?
So I think right now the slats are 3 inches and the spacing's 1 inch. So that would be like 25% opaqueness. So I guess I'm just curious, like what would the proposal be for like an acceptable ratio?
That's a fair question. What do we typically see? Because this is not a unique, kind of the horizontal steel. That's a fairly common design.
It is, and on past projects with the fence in the front yard, staff has worked with applicants to provide more of about 75% of the area open. The idea, being to not create a walled off view from the street. But because of the location of this fence not being visible from the public street, staff didn't ask the applicant to alter their design in this case, but certainly the commission does have the discretion to condition it if you so choose.
I suppose one option might be to sort of split the difference. If it's usually 75% open and they propose 25% open, perhaps 50% open. How do you commissioners feel about that? Our goal is to come to consensus. So if I'm the only one that has the concern, I would not prevail on that concern. What do most of us here think?
I'm having a hard time kind of visualizing how far in the fence is, because when I drove past, and there's nothing, right? So, if it is like not visible at all from the street, I mean.
It's not visible from Bancroft. So did you drive up the little lane?
No,
So it's essentially landlocked, like there's one access to the house,
It's a
correct?
flag lot.
It's a flag lot.
Yeah.
So the little lane, there's a big kind of turnaround in front of their garage, and that's what they're going to close off with a.
Yeah, and there are 4 houses that have access on this road, or the very last one.
And the visibility into the backyard would be from that little road.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not trying to, like, there's Glen Echo, which is behind it. We're not trying to close off from any other view. It's really just people coming down the driveway. And I mean, I think for us too, we have, it feels like the street's constantly under construction, and we have a bunch of random cars that just come and turn around in the driveway, and it's just, from a security standpoint and just being able to see what we're doing, it just feels off. And so I think that's why we're looking for a little bit more privacy. Yeah, and we did go around and actually look at other gates in the area. There were some that were fully, I'm trying to remember the cross street, Ridgecrest and not Vinewood. It's right across actually from Bancroft on the other side, which is it's a fully closed gate, like 0 opacity. And then there are others which are more close to 50% that are on the street. And so we just tried to get like kind of in the middle there. And when we saw some that were closer to that 75% coverage by the slots, it felt right to us. It felt like, I think to Sukyan's point, you're able to see movement behind it. You can see kind of general things, but you still get the level of privacy that we're looking for.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, so what are we gonna do here? What do you folks think? Tom, you're decisive. How do you feel about it?
Well, I may be the lone ranger here, so I think, I don't think in this situation where it is, the distance from the street, that makes with the 25% open space on the fence. I feel like we're worrying about something that may not be applicable. Because it's really, while it is on the front, it is on the street. It's not, the front is so far away from the street that it's academic. What the spacing is on this fence.
It's far from Bancroft. It's close on the lane. But, okay, and you both?
I'm okay with, the current design. I don't have any major concerns given, where the location of the fence is. And also given the privacy and the other point.
You really soft spoken. I'm gonna make sure that his microphone is turned on,
Yeah, with your
just for
light.
recording purposes. Sorry.
I didn't realize my mic is not on. Yeah, I don't have any concerns. I think given that, the intention is privacy, I think it's, I'm okay with the current.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, and would you like to do a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Conley,
Yes,
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yes.
Commissioner Tam,
Yes.
Chair Zeidler.
Yes, motion carries. Good luck with your project.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay. And with that, we will move on to the next item. Would you like to introduce that one, Ms. Perkins?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for a site development permit for a first-story addition of approximately 541 square feet and to reconstruct approximately 881 square feet of a portion of the existing first floor. The existing character of the house will be maintained with a proposed addition, which includes stucco walls and a flat roof. The reconstructed portion of the house will remain a single story, but the roof height will be increased to match that of the remaining portion of the house. Staff recommends approval of the site development permit with the conditions that are included in the draft memorandum of decision. And that completes the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Perkins? Are there any questions or comments from the public here in chambers? Anybody online?
No hands are raised.
Okay, I'll close public comment on this item and we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Who'd like to lead? Oh, I can go first on this one. I think the addition, nicely continues the style of the house, the current style with, minimal visual impact from the street. So I'm fine with it, as presented. Anyone else have thoughts?
I've looked at it a couple times. I've been in the house before and I feel like it's an improvement to the house. There's no neighborhood. The neighbors are distant enough. The closest neighbor hasn't said anything, and I think it makes it a much more suitable house for the neighbor. And I have no problem with what they're doing. It's a different style of architecture, but I think it works in that location.
Mhm. And it kind of continues the style that was already there.
I drove past this as well, and it looks like an addition that's, not going to be like jarring from the street. It's like really behind and. Yeah, based on the story flows, just looks like a good extension.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I feel that it's just not, in the vicinity of any other neighbors. It's not going to be an eyesore or a privacy issue. It's just a nice little facelift for the existing property.
Do I hear a motion? Would anyone like to make a motion on this one?
I move that we approve the application and staff report for SR 24-131. 24-130. And accept the plans as submitted for the additions and improvements to the home.
Okay,
As set forth in the staff report.
I'll second the motion for that project at 15419 Banyan Lane. And may we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Srivastava,
Yes.
Commissioner Tam,
Yes.
Chair Zeidler.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, and now the one we're all waiting for, I think. Would you introduce that item, please, Ms. Perkins?
Yes, thank you. This is an application for a site development permit for a new approximately 6,621 square foot, two-story house with an approximately 1,792 square foot basement. The application also includes a tree removal permit for the removal of 6 trees on the property. The subject property is over 2.5 acres in size, which does require by the zoning code that the standard setbacks for the zoning district to be increased by 10 feet on each side, which the application does comply with. The larger lot size also allows the main house to exceed the typical 6,000 square foot limit of the zoning district. The proposed house is a modern style with a combination of stucco, wood siding, and stone veneer on the exterior walls. The windows are proposed with dark metal frames and a flat roof is proposed. The application also includes the removal of 6 trees that require review and approval by the commission. The trees proposed for removal are either located in the area of construction or are currently in poor condition. Staff recommends approval of both the site development permit and the tree removal permit with the conditions that are included in the draft memorandum of decision. And that completes the staff report.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Perkins? Commissioners? Let's open it to public comment. Is there anyone, is the applicant here? Would the applicant like to speak? The applicant will have 5 minutes and then other members of the public will have 3. So if we have the applicant here, please approach the podium. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you so much, Commissioners and Diana, for the opportunity. And a couple of years ago, when I acquired this property, it's like dream come true. This is the dream lot that I've been looking for my family. So when I was discussing with Leo, my architect, I told him I want a modern house, but I don't want a party house because we are very family oriented with our children and my parents and my brother family living nearby. We just want a warm and sweet house in the middle of the secluded lot like this, and with privacy and abundant nature beauty with the trees and so forth. So I do understand a couple of neighbors had a concern about the privacy, and this is actually, absolutely one of the utmost priority for us because that's one of the reasons we are in love with this lot. And so the design of the house, that's why is transitional modern with a pretty much flat roof, and then just have minimal impact to the neighbor and so forth. And in terms of tree, yes, we unfortunately have to remove a few trees in the way of the construction area. However, many more will be built. And then we have actually a full landscape design with the rows of the maple tree and with Japanese what do you call it, the sakura, the pink cherry blossom trees. And then along the driveway will be all new trees. So maybe a couple of trees gone, but many more will be built. And then our goal is to really, create a beautiful environment from every direction from the neighbor. If they look into the lot, they will enjoy it as well. But for this lot, in terms of privacy, as you can see, the back of the house is the green wood, and the majority of the living space, well, I would say 95 or more % of the living space is facing toward against, the street and then into a vast area where I cannot even see any house. And then with the lawn, with the living room, with the bedroom, there's only one guest bedroom on the 2nd floor, has a bay window facing the green wood. But the fact that it's a bay window, it's not supposed to, you sit against it, right? So and then there is one small hallway window. And absolutely, most of the activities facing toward that way. And if there's, and then from the street of Greenwood and anywhere, right now the story pole is up and you can barely see any red, the dots there. But in case there's any gap, it's in our absolute interest to plant anything to block it and then put as high fence as, the city allows to create more privacy. And anything I missed? And yeah, my dad made this one, the cleaning cloth and everything.
You did a good job.
Yes. And then I think that there is one question about the roof, about the roof. So the nature of the house is so that when you drive up here, the front of the house is narrower than the side of the house because we don't want to change too much. This is how the configuration and topology now. So that's why we have 3 canopy and then covering the deck underneath. So there's a wrap around the deck, facing the pool area, and then we have a canopy over. And the reason this canopy is facing this way, there is a deck, as an entrance as well. And then we have two small balconies facing each other, and then like this way. And then when you drive up here, there's a garage, and then create a very warm courtyard feeling. And then, so you basically hugging the front yard. And also, if you have this canopy facing the other way, it will look like this is the front of the house, and then losing the, warm feeling of the real front house. And not to mention that around here, it is the roof of the office. So, if you're facing this way, it's like a roof over roof. It wouldn't be too ideal. So I just want to address in case, if there is a concern over this. And also, this style is one of our favorite to break the pattern. If all the roof are facing this way, this is actually a very nice break so that it looks really sweet here. And then in terms of slope, it's exactly the same. Same as the slope of this one is exactly the same as the other two. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Great. Go ahead and be seated and we'll take any other comments. And then, well, do you have any questions first for the applicant since she's here at the podium?
Yes.
Take advantage.
Have you thought about when you take out that, tree number 16, the oak?
16. Oh,
When I looked at the plan, I didn't see any tree of substance going back into that slot. And I think that was
yes.
one of the questions is the view and the privacy and looking at the home.
16 in the back.
16, I think, is the tree with the X through it that's coming out.
Yeah. This tree.
And when I looked at your landscape plan, I see some grasses and stuff like that, but I didn't see anything substantial that would replace the
The 16.
leaves there.
The removal of the trees based on the opposite evaluation of the tree.
Yeah, well, it's also in the retaining walls.
Yeah, also
line,
on the
so
retaining
that's the
wall,
real
yes,
reason
yeah.
it's coming out.
Mhm.
Right, that one had fair condition.
Yeah, fair condition, 40%, that'll live another 50 or 60 years. When it comes out, can it be,
There's something about this.
I would recommend that you find something to replace it.
Oh, yes.
That would
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
would be
Yeah.
30 feet high
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
one is.
I,
To
that-
screen it, I wanna know if you'll do it and what kind of tree is it gonna be.
Sure. Immediately, I don't know what kind of tree grows, 30 feet tall, but
Oh,
it's absolutely, our, priority to fill all the gaps if there's any. Because it's also in our interest, not, just have as much privacy as possible. So I think it's, the root is in a way, and then something
it's right
about
in
it.
the-
Yeah, it's on the
Yeah.
canopy, yeah, it's
So
right on the canopy.
It's right on the canopy, yes, so it's going to be hovering over. And then, but if that creates a gap, then we can definitely
Well, it won't
create
be-
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that tree is 25 feet wide,
Mhm, mhm.
and it
Oh, yeah,
looks
that
to be
will.
30 or something feet high,
Mhm.
and that's a big envelope that should be replaced with something compatible with the
Yeah,
oak
yeah.
trees that are.
Sure, yeah, we're going to grow so many trees, and then so we just add one more to,
Yeah, you've got-
the gap, yeah.
Got a lot of, those cherry trees going.
Yes,
in
yes.
along.
Yes, it's going, no need to go to Hagone Garden anymore, just right here.
One thing that's really good about oaks is they retain the soil.
Mhm.
It's just a good thing to have in your
Yes.
mind since your house is set up and then probably some erosive soil around the edges.
Yeah.
Oaks really do hold it together nicely since you're deep in the
Yes.
area.
Yes.
Any other questions?
None of them.
Go ahead and have a seat and we'll thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
And are there other members of the public? Please approach the podium and introduce yourself. And you'll have, as a member of the public, 3 minutes.
All right. Dear commission members, my name is Leming He. I'm residing on the 16101 Greenwood Road, just across the street from the proposed development site. So I provide my comments 2 days ago, it's already showed up in the website. While I, understand the desire to build a new house, that's all fine with me. But I have some concern on privacy between my house and their house. I understand that they try to maintain the privacy, but this is first communication between two of us, so we don't know exactly what privacy we can maintain. So the existing house was a one-story house, and it's kind of far away from my house. But now this one is a proposed one, the second story house. And also involve some of the tree, like Commissioner mentioned, one of the tree on the Green Road got removed because of some problem. So we don't know what kind of privacy issue we're facing. So privacy is beneficial for both parties, for myself and for their house also. So we scheduled a meeting, I think just today, with another member of our neighbor wisdom on this Sunday, I think, right?
Yeah. So I also forgot to mention that I visited about 9 houses just to the neighbors, just to introduce myself. And then I also visited twice, and then you guys are not home.
That's what he finished, okay?
Oh,
Let
okay,
him
sorry.
finish his-
So my suggestion is that for this meeting, you guys delay the decision approval. Let us to discuss the privacy concern. Once we address the issue, then we can go ahead to approve this proposal. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your comments. And it looks like we have someone in the back that would like to approach.
Just a little slow.
Take your time.
Sorry. Good evening. My name is Solia Goodfriend, and I live on the corner of Hillvale and Ridgecrest. I've been there 51 years. Our main concern is it is a private road and we have to maintain it. Now, with this extensive building going on, it's going to be a lot of big trucks. Where are they going to park? Where are they going to stage? Now, I haven't been up to this used to be the Triplets property years ago. And I haven't been up there since Shirley Triplet passed away. But I don't remember it being large enough flat area where they can stage big concrete trucks, lumber trucks, trucks that are gonna take out dirt. With a basement this size, there's gonna be a lot of dirt being shipped out. We're concerned about the trucks going up and down. Also, halfway down where the creek goes underneath Hillvale, the road narrows down to really a one narrow lane. If they can't park trucks up there, they can't even park pickup trucks for the workmen. So where's all the staging going to be? So but I'm requesting that they put something in the building permit, that there's no staging permitted to be parked on Hillvale. It ruins the road, it creates potholes. These big trucks have to turn around. We don't want them turning around in our driveways. I won't be affected so much for turning around as my neighbors up the road, but I am affected because where I live, the road is a little bit wider. And in the past, we've had problems with the other buildings. Last 5 years, there's been a lot of construction going on in our neighborhood. And they park in front of my house. They ruin my little retaining wall. They break my sprinklers. They make potholes. They bring in tractors with, not with tires, but with like army truck things, like this. And they go down our little private road. And of course, they tear up the turf and there's gravel and rocks all over the place. So that's my only request. Otherwise, I think it looks like a beautiful place. There'll be a nice improvement to the property, and I hope they're happy there. But I just think something has to be done about the parking.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Perkins, can you kind of outline the expectations the city has with a project like this and the trucks and such?
Yes, so in general, for construction projects, our building inspector does make every effort to ensure that all construction activity occurs on the property. When properties are along a public street, of course, the construction workers, anybody can park along the public street, assuming parking is available. But along the private street, the city generally cannot enforce parking requirements. But in this case, we could add a condition of approval to the project, if the commission desires, to require that all construction activities, staging, queuing, et cetera, occur on the property.
I think that condition would be very appropriate. Probably all of us drove out there and experienced the narrow road and what you're referring to in terms of no room to pass and such if the trucks are parking there. So I think that would be really good for fire safety too. And then we've had this come up before where there's a private road and the neighbors are very concerned about the condition of the road deteriorating. And I'm a resident of Monte Sereno too. If it were me, I would definitely document the condition of the road going in, because if it does significantly deteriorate, it gives you more to speak to your neighbors about in terms of repairing any damage. I don't know if your neighborhood has an agreement regarding upkeep of the private road.
Can I comment too?
Do-
About the maintaining the road? So several.
Sure.
Oh, just quickly, that several years ago, after I acquired a property, the neighbor, Karen and Jeffrey Krupp told me that they are going to engage some contractor to do some repair. Even though I just moved in the property, I gladly offer my check to chip in. And I think only 2 or 3 families agreed to, but I'm very willing to maintain the, the integrity of the road. It's beneficial for
That's
everyone.
good. That is
Yeah.
for a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is certainly. That's somewhat encouraging, right? Does that
I'm
allay?
sorry, I couldn't understand her.
I know with her back
Yeah.
turned.
Oh.
Well, I'll pause for a minute if you want to tell her.
Oh, yeah. So when I acquired a property a couple years ago, so Karen and Jeffrey are next door and approached me saying that they are trying to repair the road. And then encouraging all the neighbors to chip in, and then wasn't very successful in getting a lot of the consensus to write check to share the cost, but I immediately agreed to share the cost with her.
This is what we've done in the past.
Yeah,
Many years, but well,
2 years
now
ago.
with the new people, there's little dissensions. When before, I remember my share was 1/8, there's 8 houses, so we split it 8 ways.
Yeah,
We had one resident who was just not going to pay,
I see.
so we divvied up his share.
I
Yeah,
see.
but-
Yeah, I also.
But now, our consensus with my immediate neighbors at my end of the road,
Mhm.
we feel that if your construction trucks damage the road, I really personally don't want to pay to have it repaired,
Mhm.
because I'm not the one that damaged it. I think if Mother Nature damages it and time goes on with the mailman and the garbage trucks and the UPS,
Yeah,
and lift and what that comes up and down the road, that's different. But with construction trucks going up there and damaging the road, then I don't think that's my responsibility.
Sure.
Now, in the past,
Excuse us. Oh.
Okay, let's
Sorry.
do this. Let's do this. I didn't anticipate that. It's a bigger discussion.
I just want to make this one quickie.
Yeah.
In the past, when the house first sold, it was the first house on the corner was a California ranch. And Brian Burnett, who used to own the Ferrari dealership, bought the property, made it a 2-story house. Well, when he was finished, because of course the trucks were all on Hillvale, he repaved the road the length of his property line. And then when the Robins just did the house 2 years ago, they did the same thing. So people who have done
Some
construction,
I understand.
they
Okay.
do the repaving.
I'll bring it back because we have a circumscribed rule as the city and as the commission. And my understanding from previous conversations with Ms. Perkins is we can't enforce agreements between neighbors on upkeep of the road. Is that right? Or
For a private road.
for a private road? For
I
a private
understand
road.
that, I understand.
So, it's good that you're talking. I would encourage you to talk offline as well and come to what, as best you can, a fair outcome from all of you. And just document the current condition of the road. That's what I would do in your shoes. And it's wonderful that the applicants indicated that she's willing to contribute to the upkeep of the road. So hopefully you can come to agreement offline. We're somewhat limited in getting involved in that, other than facilitating you speaking with one another. So I think, And thank you for being patient with that. I figure more conversation better, but there is framework to the meeting and what we can and can't do also. So, do we have other members of the public that want to speak? I guess we've heard from everyone in chambers. Is there anyone else online?
Oh, actually, we do.
Okay.
Monho, Mono? Can you hear us? It's Mono, oh,
If you're online, I believe.
yeah, they have.
Yeah, he's the one on the other side. I mean,
Okay.
Sharma,
Is his
he write the
microphone?
comments he submitted comment today.
Right, I think he's
yeah,
raised his hand for a comment. Did you enable his microphone?
yes.
So this is your chance to speak. Is it Mr. Manat? Sharma? Sharma. Or you could type in the comments section if you're having technical difficulties, or is that not enabled these days?
Well, yeah, if he's having some technical issues, then yes, you can use the chat box, but it would seem to.
But he did submit the comment just today.
Yes,
Correct.
we're aware.
We've
We've seen that, yeah.
So he might be having some issues on his mic, on his
Okay,
side of his
yeah.
microphone.
I think let's bring it back to the commission to speak, and then if he comments that he's still trying or something, please just interrupt me and let me know. Who would like to comment on the design of the film or the project?
Well, it sounds like there's a Sunday, a meeting amongst all of the neighbors on Sunday
Yes.
to discuss concerns. Is Manoj a part of that?
Yeah,
meeting?
Manoj and I will discuss with one on Sunday.
Oh, with me?
I don't know, he told me that.
Yeah. So, may I say a few words about the?
Right now, the commission is
Oh, okay,
discussing, this is, so, you had 5 minutes, and then
Okay.
I allowed a little bit of a discourse, and then we bring it back to the commission. Okay, and we'll let you know if we have any other
Okay.
questions.
It sounds like we need some feedback from all of the neighbors that could potentially or think that they feel impacted, and then maybe we can come back with that feedback and rediscuss I think the project. That's kind of how I feel that, there's still obviously some concerns, and it seems as though Sunday is the first big meeting amongst all of the neighbors to provide input, including what we heard tonight. So,
I'm sensitive to your comments. I wish the comment that came in today had come a little earlier. So there's that, but there is a benefit to the neighbors getting together and speaking. One thing I was frustrated by is I drove out to see the property and I couldn't get through the gate, and I think all of us maybe had that happen, and it was a little bit hard to visualize the privacy impacts to the neighbors because we couldn't get onto the property. So I would really, given that there is a little bit of contention, I would like the opportunity to see the sight lines, perhaps at a future date. I was the one that raised to Miss Perkins, the roof line that's different from the other two pieces, is a little severe. I don't know if any of you had any thoughts on the overall design. It is kind of set off by itself, the property, so I don't know how many people can actually see the architecture, and if you love it, maybe that's enough if no one else can see it anyhow. But the one piece kind of stood out to me that goes in a different direction than the other two pieces of the roof. But do any of you have thoughts on the design aspect?
So I think they are kind of connected, right? That seems coupled. Again, if this is visible to the neighbors, it may look like a jarring, something in the skyline, right? It may not be very pleasing to your eyes. If there is enough camouflage around, if there's enough, big trees and it's hidden from your neighbor's side, and this is your personal preference, I think that's okay. Which again brings me to the fact I was not able to see the story pose. I was not able to understand, what really the concerns are, and I would like that opportunity to comment on this aspect.
Thank you. You feel that way, Commissioner Conlon, or you have?
I feel a couple other things. One is that in the comments from the neighborhood, and they've all had an opportunity to do it. There was no one that questioned or criticized the design piece of this thing. They were concerned about the privacy piece of this thing. And, sometimes a little self-help on privacy helps. I'm not sure exactly what they're concerned about, because if you look at the plan on that western exposure of the house, on the main floor, there's a mudroom, a dog room, a laundry, a dining area, and a guest room and a deck. Not something that I feel is gonna create privacy issues anywhere, especially this house is set back 75 or 80 feet, I think, from Greenwood by the time you get there. On this upper floor, there's a loft, a bedroom, a bathroom, and a master bedroom shower. So I don't see any privacy issues coming out of the design of the home as it appears looking at Greenwood. So I'm a little bit lost on if there's any privacy issue there. Once I looked at the plan, I was satisfied that it was going to be that way. My bigger concern was, of course, removal of tree number 16, because it's going to leave a big envelope there that needs to be addressed. It's something of mass that will grow quickly, whether and I know that there's cypress trees being planted up there, and but I didn't see any other oaks going in when I looked at the landscape plan. But that wouldn't be my issue. The third issue here, and I think for me, we should run away from it, is this road issue. Because it's covered in the Civil Code of the State of California, section 845, private roads, how they're handled, how arguments are settled, how costs are paid. It's pretty set up there. It's the same question that came up on NAGPAL
Right.
up in Winchester several months ago. And I sent all the documentation to the guy, the downhill guy. I had my attorney send me all the stuff on, because I didn't know the answer, but I do know. I just read Civil Code section 845 yesterday, and I think it's covered. And I do think that there's parts of that road are okay, parts of that road are not okay. Some of them are very narrow, poor shoulders, all those kinds of things. That's for the neighbors to decide. They essentially own it. We don't, and I've run away from it. The state has provided formal systems there where private roads, including snow removal issues, if you've got a private road, they're all covered in there. So for me, the design, I think, is, it doesn't bother me. I kind of like it. I think the landscape plan is terrific. I think they've got 285, 287 lavender going in. It's all kinds of grasses are going in. Cherry trees on that slope are going in. I really think they put some thought into it, and so the issue comes down to, is it a privacy issue or not? And given what I see as the room mix on that side of the house, it's not like anybody's setting up a telescope to peek in. I know on the home that this gentleman has there, he's got glass up above on the top, but it's like glass blocks, so nobody can get in that way. And you do have, there's one porch out there over his over his driveway area there. When a guy was building the house next to me, as soon as he got going on it, I think my privacy is my problem. And I went and planted a bunch of very low arrows and they're up and block all the views that anybody could ever have. If you have a 40-foot ladder. Privacy of them from the uses that they've got on that side, I don't think should be. To me, it wouldn't be a problem at all. If I had a privacy issue on my own home and now someone was going to be able to see something, I'd fix it myself. I'm big into self-help and not make it the last guy on the block fix everything. I don't know what.
Insightful comment. Those are insightful comments. And if everyone just took care of their own business, we'd be okay, right?
So we do have a hand raised.
Oh,
So we can
okay,
try again.
sure, let's do that.
Okay. Hello? Monho? Can you hear us?
Yeah, he was saying the chat was.
No, I feel like there's consensus around, we all want more information, whether yours about the tree, ours, not being able to drive up to the structure, how big a privacy concern is there or isn't there? Could we continue it?
So any continuance would need to be acceptable to the applicant in this case. Because the project includes 2 new housing units, a main house and an ADU. It falls under the State Housing Accountability Act requirements, which requires the city to approve a project. That again, that falls under that act, which this one does. Within 60 days of determining the project to be complete. And if it were continued to the September meeting, that would exceed the 60 days. So if the applicant, in this case, agrees to it, there can be a continuance. But otherwise, the project is going to be determined to be approved at the end of the 60 days if the city doesn't take more action.
So then we can approve, deny, or can we even deny? I think we need to clearly,
So there is.
we want everyone to try and find some harmony, but we also need to know what our legal rights and obligations are.
Correct. The project could not be denied as long as it meets all of the objective standards of our zoning code, which it does. But the commission could condition the project.
Can I ask a question? Could we, I'm trying to figure out how to strike a middle ground here. And you mentioned the 60-day limit. Could we, I don't know if other commissioners are, but could we call a special meeting, maybe 2 weeks? A short meeting to just draw this to a conclusion so that we don't hit the 60-day limit and yet are able to take an informed decision.
Yes, that could be an option.
A special.
Could you tell me what you expect to cover at that meeting?
So, because I was not able to see this property, I'm not able to comment on any of the privacy concerns that are being raised. So I think from my perspective, likewise, the design, it does look a little jarring to the skyline, but again, if it's not visible and it's, has enough coverage around, I think I should do it. So I think I would like to take a decision based on the.
In your case, you're most concerned about the tree and,
I'm most concerned about the neighbors too. I'd be like everybody to be happy.
right.
The tree is a fix we can add to our approvals.
Mhm.
If the staff approve the volume of the tree and the size of the tree to their satisfaction, that open envelope, because tree 16 is being moved, is closed off as best as it can with the plan that in the next 3 or 4 years, it's going to close that envelope completely.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's the tree thing, and we can add that now. The road thing is not part of our business.
Yeah, in terms of repairing the road, that's not part of our business. So you're saying-
Based on my study, I'm content that that the privacy issue is well handled in the design of houses. And it lands on people who might feel the privacy being violated to cure that. I don't think it's, well, I've said it before.
Right.
It would be nice to be able to get up there, and I had written Diane the other day that she can't get up there, and I'd like to, but it's a rental house or something, and
Oh, they just moved out. So, I will open the gate today and then anybody can drive up. Yes, because the people just moved out. I was worried, because we didn't change the key and the key's broken. So I was worried random people go into the house, but it's empty now, the house. So I'm going to open the gate after the meeting so anybody can drive in. And also, in terms of the tree, this number 16, Neil just told me we're gonna go back there to see again. If, if there's any way to preserve it, but if not, let's write into the, condition that we need to build something tall to fill the gap. We absolutely agree to that.
if you remove it, that's what you need to do, but it is really close to that retaining wall. And when you start trenching for a retaining wall, the size of the one you appear to be putting in there, you're gonna come across a lot of roots, and while you can be delicate and careful with them, with oaks,
They'll extend to the canopy of the tree, so the work will probably kill the tree.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what I.
Yeah, that's why we were going to discuss with the officer in further, but either option we find.
Either way, we will find a, option to fill the gap. I also just, 10 seconds.
Okay, briefly.
Mentioned that I visited 9 houses in the past few weeks and I talked to the immediate house around me. About 3 houses are very supportive, including the one that on the east side. And I learned on the south side, they also expressed 2 houses on the east side and 1 house is on the south side. I visited a home and they are very, very supportive. And then so today Shamu, or what's her name, the one raised the hand, contacted me, texted me, because I left a envelope letter to every house.
With all due respect, that's more than 10 seconds.
Oh,
We're
okay.
really in the discussion phase. I know you're passionate, it's your home, I
Yeah,
understand,
I'm
but we
just
need
being
to, we
open.
need to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Ms. Commissioner Tam?
I'm okay with. I support a interim meeting between now and our next September meeting. Now that it seems as though we now have access past the gate to assess ourselves. I would be open to having another breakout meeting to discuss just this topic.
Would that be possible, Ms. Perkins? I know it's a lot of work.
Yes, we would need to confirm schedules, with the commissioners and the applicant. So the September 4th is the next hearing, and that would be 63 days from when the application was completed.
That's Labor Day weekend, right?
Yeah, and also I have 2 trips in August, so we need to. Yeah, find the time.
So let me just, so we said this meeting we can have this meeting as long as the applicant is okay with it?
So, correct, so if the applicant agrees to a continuance, then the commission could hear the meeting potentially at the next regular scheduled meeting, which is beyond the 60 days. If the applicant doesn't agree to continue in the project, if the commission would like to schedule a special meeting later this month, we could do that.
That's in our discretion.
Yes.
Let me ask you, what's your name, by the way? I'm sorry. I want your-
J-I-E.
J. How do you feel about that? Would you be comfortable continuing it? Or is that not something you'd be interested in? If you consent to continuing it, we would get to all go up and look at the property, resolve any questions, and give you an opportunity to meet with the neighbors and hopefully allay any concerns of theirs. But it's within your discretion not to continue it. So what do you feel about that?
I don't know.
And that would be the September 4th meeting.
September 4th, I'm not even in town.
You're not in.
I mean,
Yeah, that is it. That's when the next one is,
That
Labor
is
Day
the next
weekend.
regular meeting. So the last date to have a special meeting would be August 30th.
So September fourth,
I'm also.
even though it's Labor Day weekend, it's Wednesday.
Correct.
So that Wednesday, you're out of town.
Yeah, I have a photography trip in desert.
Okay. If we do a special meeting, we have to think about, to Commissioner Connolly's point, what would we change? What would we, dictate, mandate at that special meeting? We'd have more information, but what, decisions would it possibly change, if any? Make sure it's worth the time and hassle. So because it's 2 dwelling units, can we deny the project, first of all, just to understand the whole rights and obligations? What are all of our options?
So, the commission can approve the project tonight as conditioned. Commission can approve the project with additional conditions. The only way to deny the project is if, the commission finds there are specific adverse impact upon public health and safety, which is significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable impact based on objective, identified written public health or safety standards. The commission can continue the project to a date before August 30th. And if we wanted to do that, I would suggest we figure out a date at this meeting so we can continue it to a specific date, to avoid having to renotice, neighbors, which adds to the timeline. Or with the applicant's consent, the commission can continue that item to a future regular meeting.
Okay, those are all the options. Okay, so even if we have a special meeting and continue it to that special meeting on an agreed upon date, we still can't deny it unless it's a public health hazard, which I think we can all agree it's not. So we still, at that later date, would only have the option of approving with or without conditions. So perhaps we could think about those conditions now, even without seeing it, based on neighborhood feedback, or at least try to avoid the need for another meeting. What do you think about that?
So can the commission influence the height of the building? Because I think one of the comments did say that, it was a 1-story, it's becoming a 2-story, and can the overall height be influenced, or it is within the code and cannot be influenced?
So I do believe you can provide a condition to reduce the height, but I believe the highest point of the roof is about 27 feet 8 inches, if I remember correctly, where 30 feet is allowed. So it is for a 2-story house that we definitely see houses that come much closer to the maximum than that.
I drove on Greenwood also to try and see, because the privacy concerns more from the back of the house rather than on Hillvale. Yeah, and there's so many trees and brush, and the gentleman that was concerned about privacy is really quite a distance. Is it 80 feet or?
Oh,
So for the proposed house, the portion of the house that is adjacent or near Greenwood Road is considered a side yard. So the setbacks that are required and that the house is designed to is 40 feet for the first floor, and 30 feet for the first floor and 50 feet for the second floor. And so the second floor of the house on that side is 50 feet from the property line. And just doing a quick rough measurement here. From the property line of this property to the property line of the property on the other side of Greenwood Avenue is, it shows it as 87, but I would comfortably say over 80 feet. Just because
That's quite a bit, yeah.
fine.
And we remember now, Paul, and that was 2 stories and how close they were. I mean, this is many, many times that distance. And
shielded by trees.
And shielded by quite a number of trees. I am comfortable with any privacy concern with the first comment we got, because I just think there's such distance. The one that came today, it's the neighbor that's adjacent, so I had more questions about that and wasn't really able to envision the sightlines and such, like I said, but
Well, he's more looking at the corner of the house from his yard.
Is he?
Where
Yeah,
the,
it's-
one of the columns in the driveway, we got the pictures of, that's looking more straight at it.
Mhm,
The other guy's looking more into the corner, and so he was speculating that there might be privacy issues. He didn't bother to look at the plans. He didn't bother to get a hold of.
He was traveling, he doesn't know about this until like 2 days ago.
Oh. So yeah, I think he's this guy and he's,
I see. And there are trees there. Could we condition it on screening, between each of the neighbors that have raised privacy concerns, just condition that there be landscape screening between those homes and the proposed?
To what extent?
of a these like X feet height or something or.
Those houses are far away from this house. I hate to belabor.
So I think that, distance the measurement of the distance is very helpful. Do you have a similar measurement with, the later comment, the one we got today?
I can figure that really quick, hold on 1 second. Just
Because if it's enough feet, I mean, I think you worry quite a bit less about privacy and.
So the proposed house.
This is the design.
There are a lot of trees.
I cannot even see neighbors.
So, for the proposed house from the setback from the adjacent property. I guess I would kind of say to the south. Is over 50 feet. So the plan says it exceeded, the plan shows the required setbacks. But it doesn't show the actual setback, so it's over 50, I would guess 55.
Mhm.
But if I may also, I did receive an email, from the neighbor who was online having technical difficulties.
Mhm.
So, I could just go ahead and read that.
That would be great, thank you.
Okay. So, they say, I had joined the discussion. I attempted to speak with Zoom twice and my voice did not go through. Even though the microphone in Zoom indicated the sound was picked up. The council discussed the impact to Greenwood Road, but not the visibility to our property. We can see significant lines on the second floor, which we will be happy to show to the owner when we meet them. In addition to the chat options were disabled, I guess on the Zoom. I understand there may have been technical issues with enabling public participation, but it will be great if they are addressed for the benefit of future participants.
Okay,
Thanks.
well, I'm not sure what happened with the technology. Usually people prefer to speak and we haven't had any software changes or anything, right? So.
And we had a speak for an earlier item.
Oh, that's true, that's true. Okay, so if we could decide tonight with any conditions we might want to have, or we could try and find another date and meet in 2 weeks after we go look at it. Are we concerned about privacy given the great distances between the homes? I mean, anytime there's development, there's potential for some loss of privacy. We all kind of have to live with that. And you hope that you don't line up bedrooms right against each other without trees, but I don't think that's what we have here. I'm starting to kind of lean in Commissioner Connolly's direction on, I don't think it's a significant privacy or an extreme privacy impact. And I think we could, in my mind, leave it to the applicant and the neighbors to try and agree on some screening as best they can, replacing that big tree with some adequate screening. But I'm leaning against any sort of, I mean, we're not gonna ask them to change the whole orientation of their house or something like that. These are big properties with big space between them. I don't love the one piece of roof, but I don't think anyone's close enough to have it really impact what they see too much on the horizon. I think in the future projects, if there is a gate, let's try and advance as much as possible to get that open or schedule the meeting after the gate, but because it kind of hinders our review to not be able to get up there, but I'm leaning towards doing a motion for approval today with some conditions. How do you feel now that we've discussed it more? Do you have a strong desire to see it again before making them like another time before deciding, or are you any more comfortable?
So after hearing what the choices are, we could just defer, we can't deny it. We can just defer it, right? So that's what I don't think there is an option to influence it. But I also agree that, the privacy concerns are as much the applicants as they are the neighbors, right? But they are building a beautiful house and they themselves don't want, any privacy breach for their own family. So I think if the neighbors can get together and amicably sort it out and, at least your plan shows a lot of trees and I feel comfortable just looking at the plan on picture. But again, the neighbor is saying that from where they are able to see the storybooks, right? So,
That's why they're put up.
yeah, so that's why they are put up. So they're saying that, we can see the top of your story poles, looks like you'll be able to look into our house. So if you can assure them that there will be
Sure,
enough,
sure.
coverage there and bigger trees planted to block that view, I think
Sure.
you can have.
Yeah, I will be happy to. I will. That's why for the past 2 weeks, I visited house by house.
Yeah.
And then for those who was not there, I left my phone number because I want to personally tell them what I'm planning to do, my vision, and then because I want to make everybody happy. Mhm.
Okay. So, you have in a similar place?
Yeah, I think just with I think it's very helpful, to, just hear the distance, the actual physical distance, and it seems as though it's far enough away where it's not a big nuisance or extreme issue.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the project at 15419 Banyan Lane with the conditions you described at the beginning of this item related to not having any of the staging on the private road and keeping them all within your property, because I think it's safer for everybody. And an additional condition for some sort of screening to replace the oak tree in question that we discussed earlier. I don't remember the number of
It's
it.
tree 16.
It's tree 16, so some screening specific to tree 16. But otherwise approving the project as submitted and the tree removals as submitted.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to second that motion or propose a different one? Okay, would you please do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Evans, I'm sorry, he's absent, Commissioner Srivastava,
Yes.
Commissioner Tam, Chair Sackler.
Approved. Motion carries. Do we have anything else on the agenda? Anything else that popped up? Okay, with that, I will adjourn the August 7, 2024 meeting of the Site and Architectural Commission at about 8:20. Thank you, everyone.